me in these broken ways. I'm lost in the dark before dawn. Yeshua, hear my plea. Lost in the dark before dawn. Come and rescue me. Out of night, I'm fading in the night. El Shaddai, bring me back to life. Lost in the dark before dawn.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Monster 911. It's good to be with you once again. So we're just going to get right into the show here. You could say that this next show is very bizarre and one of the most interesting and strange interviews that I've done. It comes out of Kansas. Now, I don't have a lot of people calling me out of Kansas. When I do, it's usually very either terrifying or very strange. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Lance, where I interview people, everyday people like you and I, who have seen the unimaginable, the unexplainable, creatures that are not supposed to be real. They're not supposed to exist, but unfortunately they do. And when people see them, they have a hard time coping, trying to understand what they've seen. So I help them navigate, you could say, and connect the dots. My podcast is a podcast of we don't judge. We just want to hear the context of what happened so we can all learn and be aware, you could say. Be aware that we're not alone when we're out in the woods, nor are we alone in the skies. And as you hear this counter of what this gentleman witnessed, if you yourself have had something similar or have seen something odd or strange that spooked you, that terrified you, that frightened you, I'd like to hear from you. You'll feel better, and again, we can keep everything confidential as far as your name, your occupation. So let's go to that interview that I did with this guest and what he saw. And I think you'll agree that what he describes is not only so bizarre, but terrifying when he looked out and he saw what was running in the cornfield.
So it happened about, I believe it was 2013 or 2014. I was headed home from my buddy's house. He lived, about 7 miles away from where I was living at the time. And I was headed south, and I was coming to an intersection that doesn't have a stop sign on either side, so I always make sure to double check that so I don't get T-boned. I've been T-boned in the past, and it's no fun.
And this was in central Kansas?
Yeah, northeast central Kansas. And I looked over, and I'm sure you're aware of how cornfields grow. When they have like a water pivot, so the edge of the fields, the corn kind of tapers down where it gets less water.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was that was where the corner of the intersection was. It would be the southeast corner of the intersection. And I looked over, and running through, just about where the corn stalks went from their highest point to they started to taper down, maybe a little bit in front of that, I saw what looked to me like a 7 to 9 foot tall lightning man, as weird as that sounds. I believe he was blue in color.
Oh.
Running diagonal across from the north-southbound road to the east-westbound road. Southwest to northeast. Yep.
Okay.
And he was just going faster than any human could run.
Wow.
I say it.
Right.
And just traveling
So
Oh, I'd have to.
you were on your bike?
I was driving in a truck.
Oh, you were in a
Yep.
truck
Yep.
and you just happened to glance over or something caught your eye, a flash or something or
Yeah, just like checking the intersection to make sure that no other vehicles were coming, and I saw the light because he was not glowing, but I don't know how to explain it, like putting off light. Um,
whoa.
and it
Interesting. What
just
time of day?
this would probably be 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night.
Oh, wow. So you could okay. So if it was putting off any light, you could definitely see it.
Oh yeah, yep.
So did you freeze in your traveling in the truck or what did you do?
No, once I saw it and realized what it was, I accelerated past the intersection to get past it pretty quick. Um, and then it just continued traveling. It was pumping its arms really fast. Just like I said, probably 35 to 40 miles an hour running.
So pumping its arms like a human would, but much
Yes,
faster.
correct. Yep.
So you could make the outline of this figure.
Yeah, it was like almost like a stick man and lightning bolt, kind of like if you draw a kid drew a lightning bolt, kind of similar to that. I remember the head for sure was just like a stick and then it angled back,
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
at like a 45-degree angle, two sticks coming together.
Wow. So it didn't really have like a rounded head like a human would.
No, no, the whole thing was very skinny, either stick or lightning bolt shaped.
But it had like arms and legs
Yes.
that you could
Yep.
see and it was kind of like you said pumping its arms fast and it was moving quite
Hmm.
fast. When it was running, it was it wasn't floating, but it was actually to your best recollection it was touching the ground, it was making contact.
Yeah, yeah, it was touching the ground. I didn't see any plumes of dirt fly up or anything like that, and I didn't notice any disturbance in the corn stalks. But it was definitely touching the ground when it was running.
So that was my next question. It wasn't parting the corn stalks that you could see. It was
Not
just
that I, not that I remember.
so when you saw it, it wasn't. Was it stationary, or when you saw it, it was already in a run,
It was already running when I
it,
saw it.
and it was going at this angle, like you said, this oblique kind of angle in the
Yep,
cornfield.
yep.
Do you know? And I may be bouncing around here, so I apologize.
You're fine.
Do you know before that or after that, a day, a week, or a month? Did anyone report any oddities that you're aware of in the area? A neighbor, the newspaper, some friends of yours? Anybody say anything odd or that you're aware of?
No, but there's been lots of other odd things that I've seen in that general area, but not anything prior or after that immediately in that time frame.
Hmm. Um. So no weird cornfield designs or these that sometimes people have in cornfields. These
I've seen them, but it was not or I've seen one, but it was not within a reasonable time frame of me seeing the thing of the creature.
did the property that it was on. Was it just a neighbor's property or is it family or friend? I mean,
It would be, I believe it would have been my friend's. Think it was, I think it was my friend's property, or they were possibly renting it out.
okay. Did you
Yep.
ever go back and see if you could see any prints or tracks? Like,
No, it kind of freaked me out a little bit,
sure.
and I kind of looked as I drove past and stuff, but I never really occurred to me to get out and go look and see if I saw anything.
Mm-hmm. And it usually doesn't, even if, regardless of what it is, a creature that's got hair, fur, or something alien-like or
Mm-hmm.
very odd like you saw, most people don't think to do that, so that's very normal. To the listener, they would go, well, I would have done this and that, but really when you get down to it, when you have such a bizarre event happen, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. I mean, most people don't even reach for their phone, even though we have camera on it and video. We don't think about that stuff.
Oh, I know. I'll I have a recording device in my work vehicle that I can just press a button on and it'll record
Okay.
everything. And I've had a mountain lion run right across in front of me at work, and I always told myself, if I ever see anything weird like a Sasquatch or something like that, I just don't press that button because it goes back 30 seconds before and records.
Oh.
And I never even thought about doing that until I was like, what the hell?
I know. Well, and I'm telling you, a lot of people say, well, here we go again, no video footage. Well, because human psychology and human nature, we're not born journalists. We don't have a camera around our neck all the time. And if it wasn't for some of these trucking companies and people in emergency personnel and law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if it wasn't for some of these cameras coming on when the car starts up, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. And some do. It's just automatic. And some are manual, but we as human beings, we're trying to process what the heck am I looking at?
Mm-hmm.
And then later, after the fact, when we settle down, we go, oh man, I didn't do push that button. I didn't think about my phone, because you really don't. And that's totally normal. And some people, run like a scared 10-year-old boy, and when they're out in the woods and they don't realize they had a gun over their shoulder or a sidearm.
Yep.
And then they get in the car going, oh man, I totally, it just escaped me that I had anything on. And so you didn't go back, and in what do you think, just off the top of your head, what do you think you saw or what it was?
The only thing that would make sense would be either some kind of like alien, possibly. I know that I talked to my dad about this. He's real big into this kind of stuff too. And he did some looking around on the internet and could only find one other person talking about something similar. And he ended up sending me a picture that somebody had drawn of this thing. And it was probably 90% the same of what I saw, of what this other person had seen.
So your dad, had he seen anything like this when you told him, or what did he think?
He's seen a lot of weird things. I don't think he's seen anything like this before.
Okay.
If you're familiar with the SALLIE house in Kansas,
I am not.
it's an extremely famous haunting
Oh.
that happened in the 90s, and there was a big TV crew that went there. There were scratches appearing on this person.
Oh.
There's multiple documentaries about it, including the one. My dad was the sound guy for that. So.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Wow. Then he was firsthand observer of some wild stuff then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
He's seen all sorts of stuff. So he believed everything that I said.
Sure. You said you saw some other things that were out there that were kind of bizarre. Do you mind sharing?
Sure. One of them was a crop circle in one of our fields.
In one of your fields?
Yeah. Yep. It was either a year or two before or maybe a year after this occurred, within that time frame. It was probably 12 to 15, man, maybe 20 feet across, perfectly circular, with all the I don't remember if it was grass or if it was hay, but laid down in a same direction in a circular pattern.
I've never got to talk with anyone that it had a crop circle in their field.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very intriguing.
Yep.
Who found it?
I did.
What did your dad think when he saw it?
It was kind of weird. He just kind of looked at it like, because usually he's very excited about this kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think I don't know if he was out there with me when I saw this. If his memory serves me correctly, he kind of just looked at it and said something maybe to the effect of, "Oh, yeah, I've seen that before," something like that.
I'm always curious. That's why I asked the question, when family sees the same thing, because everybody internalizes it different. And I'm just, some family members, they go, uh-oh, like how they behave, like they've seen it in the past and not said anything. And then other family members are like, you've seen this before? How come you didn't say anything? When did you see it? And then it kind of opens up a whole Pandora box of other things. So I was just curious what he had, how he reacted to that. So I say all that to say, I just wonder if many regions or parts of Kansas don't have the same thing happening.
I'm sure they do. I've seen a lot of other weird things, it wouldn't surprise me.
Do you see a lot of when you say a lot of weird things like crafts in the sky or things jetting around at different angles at fast speeds? Or
So one time while I was at work, I was on night shift at the time. I had seen an aircraft, what I assume was an aircraft, doing weird turns in the sky. It seemed like it was too fast to be an aircraft I'm familiar with, what they're able to do.
Right.
But that didn't last very long. Fort Riley is very close to where I'm at, so there's always helicopters and drones and stuff flying around, but this didn't seem consistent with those.
Right. And we kind of get used to the sound and there's certain speeds of planes, private and jet and things like that. So when abnormal sticks out, you just know that's not anything I'm familiar with.
Right.
Interesting. So you saw this, getting back to what you saw, it never stopped to look at you that you're aware of. Could you tell if it turned to notice you? Or
it didn't turn or notice that I could tell notice me. It just kept moving at that same angle. It seemed like it was on a mission to get somewhere.
And from your best recollection, it was moving like 35 to 45 miles an hour, you said?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Wow. And you just saw one?
Yes, just the one of those. Yep.
And this was I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. What time of year was this?
Oh, good question. This had to have been probably early summer. It wasn't cold. At least what I consider cold. It was definitely very dark. The sun had gone down a little while before. I can't remember really what the corn looked like. I was so fixated on the thing.
And did it light up around it as it was moving through the corn, like the corn and everything lit up as it was moving by the corn and the ground?
No, it was more itself just lit up, like not giving off any light, but it was bright.
All of it was bright.
Yes. Yep.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah.
Could you tell in the distance where it was running? And I know everything happened so fast.
Mhm.
But that in the distance, was there anything lit up unusually, like in the far field, like it was going toward a ship or anything like that? Or that was, you couldn't tell?
No, it didn't look like anything. Where it was running to, it would have been running towards a pretty large farm and house.
Oh,
Yeah,
hmm.
and in that direction of travel.
I just wonder. I've done a couple stories of potential alien-like creatures.
Mhm.
I don't know what else to really call them. I mean, they didn't have any
Right.
hair,
Nope.
and sometimes they're an associated weird sphere or orb sighted prior to or during or after in the area.
Hmm.
So we can only kind of assimilate or assume that it was some type of alien craft or creature, alien type creature.
Right. Yep.
I wonder, and on one of these, I did an interview of the gentleman that was left by his stepdad out in the woods when this alien came out of the wood line at night.
Mm.
And the way it was moving with purpose. Kind of like this creature, it wasn't wandering. It was on a mission. It was going, and
Yep.
it was moving
Yep.
prior to you coming up on it. So it was already blazing a directional path heading somewhere for a reason. And I just
Yes.
wonder, when you see something like that, it I wonder sometimes if it's been down that path before. If it,
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, it's not, in other words, it's not the first time it's been there.
Hmm.
And if so, what is its purpose for being back? Or did it ever leave?
Yeah, true.
And where was it dropped off? And for what reasons? Monitoring, study, who knows? I just think these things too. And that one story that I did with Jeff, his mother also encountered this creature somewhat. And so I just wonder over the years, just if this is not the first time this creature's been in that field, running in that direction for whatever reasons we don't know, but kind of makes you wonder.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've wondered about it for years. Just what was it doing?
And how old were you at that time?
See, I'd have been 22 or 23. Yeah, 22 or 23.
Did you tell, besides your dad and your mom, do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, my brother, I'm sure I talked to him about it.
Had he ever seen anything like that?
No, I thought no.
Okay. Yeah, I just wonder, there's so much, who knows what's going on every night across America, of course,
Hmm.
but especially in these states with wide open skies,
Yeah.
and there's so many
Yep.
places. My buddy Wally Dave, I was just saying earlier, for whatever reason, some people have multiple sightings and encounters.
Hmm.
Well, he was with another person, not his typical hunting buddy, but there was another guy that wanted to go out coyote hunting that begged and begged him. And they went out on a ranch north of Tulsa. And we've been out there quite a few times, but on this particular occasion, he rolled up on the hill and he looked down. As soon as he rolled up on this hill, he usually drives around with his parking lights because you could still see the road. And he
Hmm.
doesn't want to spook any coyotes that are out there in the field. So that's how he
Right.
does it. So he rolled up on this hill and he looked down at the bottom and there was lights. There was this ship down on the bottom and there was lights underneath it
Oh.
and had landing gear. Like he said it was landing gear that looked like the Apollo ship that lands on the moon.
Hmm. Yep.
Like it had these, flat feet on it. He said
Hmm.
it was like a tripod. And there was lights on the bottom. You could see that there was an opening. And he was driving his Jeep and there was no fence from the dirt road down to this valley, and he wanted to just drive on down there, and he said that it was high enough off the ground he could have drove his Jeep around it.
Oh.
And the guy that he was with was absolutely throwing a fit. He thought they were going to be abducted. And the guy
Yeah.
was freaking out so bad that Wiley just said, "Okay, okay, okay, okay." And Wiley is like me. I want to see. Let's go. You know.
Hmm.
But this gentleman was literally having a meltdown, and so Wiley turned around. And he said when they turned around, he could still see it hadn't moved. It didn't move. He just drove off, and he went back. I think within that week, and he brought his dad. He told his dad, and his dad believed him, and he went there, and it was gone, of course.
Mm. Of course.
But yeah, I think there's things like that that go on all the time, all the time.
I think so too. Just with the amount of weird things that I've seen, that my dad has seen, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so have you ever seen anything over your house?
Not, no. There was one. My mom. This happened to my mom. Um, there was where we used to live at the farm on a farm. There was a metal carport next to the farmhouse, and she got out of the vehicle one day, and that metal carport just started vibrating,
Hmm.
like back and forth, and it started to become extremely loud, and like something was flying over it,
Oh, okay.
and that didn't last very long. Uh,
And then
but
it
that's
just
about the
stopped.
only. Yeah. Yep.
Hmm. Well, I only asked that because there's been some people I've interviewed that continue to have sightings
Hmm.
or interesting events happen. And on the surface, we could say we just don't know. It's just
Right.
luck, you know. But
Hmm.
on another level, if you, and not to make anything up, but I've come to a level of potential understanding that some people have abilities. And with these abilities, people, let's just say, if we try to have some level of being pragmatic and just about science, we know everything vibrates at a certain frequency.
Hmm.
Metals vibrate less, they're a solid, gases vibrate more, light is extremely fast, things like that. So if everything is a vibrational frequency, um, things that a person thinks, we know, thoughts have a vibrational frequency, um, negative or positive. They can go high or low, it doesn't matter. So everything is about vibration and frequency. So, and these are not just my words, these are words of NASA scientists and people in physics and quantum mechanics and energy. They all agree
Hmm.
that. Those are the very common universal things. And
Yep.
if we think that that does exist like that, and that some people may have an ability to attract things, unknown beings like this, I guess is what I'm getting at, not
Hmm.
knowing they can attract. So that's why I asked, because I've interviewed some people and they go, I didn't ask to see this, but this occurred like 3 times within a year, you know,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
not like what you just described, but close to their home. Um, if you, Dr. Salla is a researcher on YouTube. He has his own channel, and there was a gentleman. Now it's fully disclosed. His name is JP, and he had this ability, and he would look in the sky, and he would always see these UFO crafts,
Mm.
and it was like very predictable. And so he would take pictures all the time. And so, anyway, I just mentioned that's why I was asking. I was just curious. I do
Yeah.
stay in
Yep.
contact with some people that they see quite often UFOs in and around their property on a weekly basis.
Oh wow.
to this day. And these are people that are not, they're not living on the edge. They're not medicated. They're not taking CBD oils or anything like that, laced with
Right.
THC. These people are sound, credible people with a career. They're very stable, and they just have these events happen quite often. And they're always letting me know. They'll send me pictures. This is what happened tonight. And I can't explain it. But that's the only way I can, is kind of that way. Now, you said it was blue, kind of it was a
Yeah.
blue color.
Yeah.
Could you see through it?
No, no. It was I don't want to say it was solid. It appeared I don't know if it was solid or not, but I could not see through it. No.
So it wasn't really translucent that you
No,
could
no.
tell. It had a form to it. It was
Yeah.
just but it was emitting light.
It wasn't yeah. It wasn't projecting light like a flashlight would. But if you
It was like a glow.
even less than a glow, it wasn't.
Oh,
Yeah, it was glowing, but it wasn't. There was like no glow around it.
oh,
It's
okay.
it itself was just lit up.
So you couldn't see, and I know I don't mean to repeat myself or you
Oh, you're
repeat
good.
too,
You're fine.
but typically if I off the top of my head, I think of a glow stick. You break it and it goes that
Hmm.
orange or green that we're all very common with,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then everything around it glows, reflects off of it, that same green.
Right.
If you're in a closet or underwater, it's going to glow. Everything around it's going to glow that green, whatever the color that stick is, glow stick.
Yep. Yep.
So this wasn't like that necessarily. This was
No, it'd be like a glow stick without the glow emanating from it.
wild.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of hard
That
to
is
explain.
wild. That almost that kind of defies a little bit of light physics.
Yeah, it's very. It made no sense because it was itself was glowing, but it wasn't like projecting light onto the corn or like the ground.
Wow.
That could have been that it was just glowing so softly it didn't have enough uh, lumens or candela to do that. But
Mm.
I don't know.
Now that's very, very interesting. So, what we can say from that is that a couple things. Number one, human beings can't typically. What's the likelihood of Usain Bolt dressing up in some lighted suit, running out in a cornfield out in the middle of nowhere?
Yep,
It,
exactly right.
it's very, very, very unlikely. So
Hmm.
that's out of the question. And we know that anything that typically we have as civilians that we can buy at Walmart or wherever, it's going to have a glow to it.
Yep.
It's going to reflect off things. So that rules, anything logical out. And then the head portion did not really have a head like a human.
No, absolutely not.
And
It could not have been like somebody in a suit. It was too thin.
yeah, it just doesn't
I
fit the mold of anything.
yeah. I the thickness of the thing, what I would assume would be an average person's wrist, maybe a little bit smaller than that would be
Oh, really?
the
So yours is super thin.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe even thinner than that. Maybe like a barrel on a rifle thin, something like that.
Oh,
Pretty thin.
oh, that's even more wicked than what I would. That's creepy.
Yeah.
That is really creepy.
And if I remember correctly, yes, it did not have hands, but no, that it couldn't have been as thin as a barrel because it had to have some 2D concept to it because the hands were pointed. It didn't have a hand, but the end of the arm just came to a point.
So it's like broomstick then?
Yeah, it's it. Based off of the fact that it came to a point, it probably had to be closer to like a wrist in thickness, the whole body
Wow.
and arms and everything.
Yet it could still move that fast.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Because, typically we think of speed on Earth, you have to have some muscle mass to get moving fast. But that kind of defies that logic. That would be very, very bizarre to see. Man.
It was very, very weird.
What did you think when you got home? I mean, just were you trying to process what did I just see?
exactly. Yeah, I was just trying to process it and think of what it could have been, and did I really see that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, I don't know.
Did you go by there at night again?
Oh, hundreds of times. Yep.
And nothing after that.
No.
When you saw this, it was at night. And again, there was no weird events happening that you can tell. I mean, there was no asteroid,
No.
no asteroidal event going on at night that the news stated or anything weird.
No. Nope.
Yeah, I have to admit, I haven't heard anything like that before. But I've heard of things close. I've talked to some brothers down in southwestern Oklahoma, and they were deer hunting, and they didn't see anything like that thin, but they saw something small, and it was translucent, and it was like a greenish blue, and it was parting the weeds as it was approaching them, and then it just turned at 90 degrees, and so the branches and everything were moving as it went by, but they couldn't quite make a total outline of it, but you could see through it, and you could see like the outline of a little body, but it was about 4 feet tall to 3 feet tall. And both brothers saw it, older brothers, and then their nephew the following morning saw it, and he was probably only a couple hours in the deer stand. He turned around and then just went back home.
I don't blame him.
It freaked him out. He says, "I don't know what I saw, and I don't want to know. I'm not going back. I'm not going back." And then one of the brothers, one of them that I spoke to said that he had seen like an egg-shaped ship. I think a month or two prior to that. But anyway, it was just freaky, and but they described something totally different than what you're describing.
Yeah. This thing was between 7 to 9 feet tall, at least.
Man, I know it sounds eerie, but I almost would like to see it. I would. Geez.
I wouldn't not want to see it again. Like, if I saw it again, I wouldn't hate it.
I know this is going to be hard to answer, but I'm still going to ask it. Do you think there was any malevolence to it, or do you get a vibe off of it when you saw it, or?
Yeah, kind of. It felt like how do I explain this? I'm always armed every single day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I carry a gun professionally.
Okay.
And I couldn't, like, my thought process when I saw after the first few seconds of seeing this, if this thing attacks me, I can't shoot it. What's a bullet going to do to a lightning person?
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like, just leave this thing alone. It's doing something that it deems important, and get away from it.
Okay. And I only ask that because sometimes people go, "No, I didn't get a vibe off of it." And some people will say something, you never know. They'll just say, "Yeah, I get a vibe. I wasn't supposed to, I'm not to interact with it." Or, yeah, whatever I would use, it wouldn't work, you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
and that's the vibe they got. So I just thought I would ask.
Hmm.
Interesting. Well, and in your opinion, again, you think you saw something extraterrestrial in nature, obviously.
That would be my best guess.
Hmm.
Yep. I
And there,
can't imagine. If the only other thing I could possibly think of is some kind of Indian something, like Native American tie.
like
That's
something been there a long time, possibly.
yeah, yeah, maybe that. Lots of um, lots of Native American history
Mm-hmm.
in that area that occurred in.
Okay.
Um,
And that's a very
yeah.
good point because a lot of people sometimes will say, "Oh, that's just folklorish, and that's just indigenous stories." But you know what? A lot of those stories were real. And they were
Hmm.
truthful, and a lot of the first peoples they had very powerful spiritual.
Hmm.
They were attuned to their environment and to this earth, and they knew how this spirit world operated, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
And
I would.
so you got to be careful. That's why I tell people, if you come up on things or grave sites or anything, do not touch anything.
Mm, yep.
But
That'd almost be closer to what I would think now than like an alien is maybe something Native American. It's
it's quite
the
possible.
other some of the other weird things that have occurred would tie more to that. Like it'd be a closer relation to that than extraterrestrial.
Okay. And it's
Uh,
quite possible too. Quite
yep.
possible. Um, because even in this, how shall I say it, like ghostly,
Hmm.
um, unseen realm
Yep.
that typically as humans we can't see into, I believe some humans can. I really do. I think that some humans that they were just given these abilities, whether they can see in near infrared or infrared spectrum. Not everybody can. That's why we have game cameras, and we can't see it
Yep.
when the infrared light comes on. And most wildlife cannot, but some can. But I think that there's a lot of things going on all the time in this unseen realm, and all kinds of interesting entities that who knows what they look like or what capabilities they have.
Yeah. I I couldn't imagine because it just anything's possible with
Yeah.
the
Oh,
thing
yeah.
that I saw that I'm
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And our mind is kind of blown in just lightly contemplating it just on the surface, but I think our minds would be blown just to realize what's out there as protectors on
Hmm.
whether it's a native burial site, a site that had a lot of turmoil and there was some type of skirmish that happened and it didn't end well, or and what kind
Yeah.
of spiritual protectors are in this. Who knows? But
There's a there is an old United States cavalry fort about 3.5 miles, 4.5 miles from where that occurred.
interesting. Okay.
Yep. So
Very intriguing. And you could be on the money. I mean, there could be an association with that too. Absolutely.
yeah, could be.
Yeah. I spoke to one lady one time, and she went to a native burial site, native cemetery, and shortly after, she saw this being, and it looked like it had
Oh,
wings, and she saw it in her neighborhood.
really?
Yeah, and it was like 7, 8 feet tall, and she was looking right at it, and I think her fiance saw it too,
Oh, wow.
but was in a physical form, and then they looked away and looked back, and it was gone. So, I mean, again, who knows? There's so much we don't know, but it's interesting to also contemplate the possibility of something being more supernatural, native wise.
I wish I knew, because it's
Well,
yeah. I just
I
wish I knew,
hope
I
you never
guess.
see it again, of course, but if you ever do,
Right.
please call me.
I will do that.
Please. This is so highly fascinating. I'm just intrigued about what the world we live in is still so mysterious.
Hmm.
And we don't have answers, but there is sometimes very similar findings and instances and similarities between encounters and what people see. And they do sometimes overlap a little bit. But I've talked to people that have seen creatures with wings and eyes that glow,
Hmm.
alien-like creatures that look like they had a helmet. One gentleman said when he was a boy, this was in, was it California? I'm trying to remember now. And he was with a buddy fishing down in this ravine, and he saw this creature dip down and get water sample, and it
Oh,
had like
wow.
some helmet on, some
Oh.
helmet suit that was kind of a combination.
Hmm.
And he saw it, and it just kind of turned and walked away back into the woods. And then seconds, a minute later, the sky got bright and just pow, like it something left in the atmosphere and went through like a, it just got real bright and then it's gone.
Oh, wow.
And so, um, to people seeing creatures walk across a field at night that don't look anything of this earth,
Mm. Yep.
so yeah, there's a lot out there we just don't know, and that's the thing, that's just every story. I don't have answers, but I really want to know and I want to learn. And I always tell the people, listen, if you see anything like that, let me know. And is there anything you would like to add to this that I didn't ask you, or something that just
Mm,
you feel that was interesting that you hadn't talked about?
the only other things would be um, Sasquatch sightings that my dad had in the same area for years.
Oh,
Would be
really?
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Um, I know one night I was clearing a building with my partner.
Mm-hmm.
An alarm went off, so we had to go clear it to make sure that nobody was in there. And we got done clearing the upstairs, and we heard voices, like somebody talking. And this was all caught on camera that we had on our bodies. And it's just us standing in this old abandoned church gymnasium, trying to figure out where this talking is coming from.
Okay.
Uh, that'd be the only other. I don't know if we still have that footage anywhere or not, but it probably couldn't be released, unfortunately.
Well,
Uh,
that's another. Right now I'm writing my first book, and
uh-huh.
I've been doing this since 2017, and I've spoke to about every kind of person, occupation, age, background, you name it.
Hmm.
And I've talked to a lot of people in positions that when they were in active their career, they
Hmm.
they couldn't share anything to their knowledge. It didn't exist. But
Right.
but after they retired, they go, "Oh, it existed. I just
Hmm.
wasn't able to share that." I know that that very thing at a federal ranger standpoint
Hmm.
goes on all the time.
Yeah, I believe it. I know that my dad's seen stuff like that, and that at
Pe-
one point my great grandpa had recovered some what we think was Sasquatch bones,
hmm?
a skeleton.
Really?
If you have a couple of minutes, I can tell you a crazy story.
Oh, yes, please, please.
Yeah. So it might take a couple minutes, but
Oh, that's okay.
um, my great grandpa and his brother were clearing out a portion of the farmland that they had bought back in the early 1900s. And there used to be a town down in this field that's not there anymore.
Okay.
So they were taking the buildings away and removing the buildings to open it up for farming. Inside one of these buildings, they located a skeleton. And my grandpa was 6'6" at least. And this skeleton was taller than him, is what they said. So they took this skeleton and they put it in a 55-gallon drum.
Okay.
And took it back up to the farmhouse and put it in the shed, where it remained for years and years and years. And my dad said one night when he was little, they'd all go over to the farmhouse, and they used to dare them to go to the end. It was called the long shed, the long barn, or something like that. Long barn. It was a little bit of a distance from the house, and it was limestone. So they had to go all the way to the far end of the barn, and bring back a tool to prove they were brave and could do it. Right, it's the game they would play on the kids.
Mm.
And one night they got down there, and it was him and his cousins and maybe his brother. And he said he started smelling something, maybe a skunk or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, what is that?" So they kept going. I think they had to cross some hay bales that were in there to get to the other side.
Okay.
And that drum was over on the other side near a door that faced away from the door they entered into. And all of a sudden, my dad said he possibly heard a growl, and he saw something massive pick up this barrel that the bones were in and take it away off into the woods.
Really?
And I always thought, I'm like, man, there's no way that's a real story. He's just telling us this story.
Right.
But my great grandma, who lived to be 102 or 103, she probably said this when she was 90, 96, 95.
Okay.
They were talking about something, and she just says, "I can't believe they put that poor old man in that barrel and left him there."
Whoa. So she confirmed that there was some bones or something in a barrel.
Yep.
And when she was saying that, she meant like her husband and when they were clearing out those buildings.
Yes, I think it was her husband's father who did that.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep, back in like the early 1900s.
Oh, gotcha.
Like 1910 maybe.
Wild. I would have liked to seen the skeleton on that and the skull and
Oh, I know.
and I think there's situations where that's occurred years ago and people don't know what they found.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, oh, look at that. That's interesting. That's odd. Let's put it in a barrel, or let's wrap it up in a gunny sack and just stow it away. And well, because people that aren't into this subject, even back years ago, that was just fairy tale stuff.
Right.
And so it wasn't, since it was fairy tale stuff and it was, considered unrealistic or unreal, you don't even think of possibilities like that. You just kind of go, oh, huh, and then you move on and you do what you were doing. Let's plow the field. Let's, whatever.
Yep.
I don't get a lot of people calling out of Kansas with sightings, but I know they happen all the time, and encounters. I know they're happening all the time. And I just think that a lot of people, and I don't blame them, they keep a lot of these encounters and sightings very close.
Yeah.
I think it
Yep.
just stays in the family, or it's older folks, and typically, not always, but older folks tend to just keep things to themselves.
Yep.
They don't want anyone on their property if it occurred on their property, which I get it. They don't want anyone snooping around. They just want to lay low in what they've seen, or they've told each other, don't say a word.
Yeah.
They'll leave you alone. Don't mess with them. Just let them go, kind of thing. Who knows?
Yep.
And I think that happens not just in Kansas. I think many, many other places too. But I just think that I just envision, some of these farmsteads, they're not necessarily young families all the time. It's an older generation. The kids have moved off. And so I think, each generation has their own nuance of how they talk about stuff that doesn't fit normal. So I just want to thank you for your time, for contacting me. If you see anything else, you let me know.
Will do.
All right. Thank you. So as always, I wanted to do a follow-up here, guys, and just see what you thought. I just thought this was the most strange and odd and frightening in a very odd way of what this witness saw. And he still to this day doesn't know. I mean, as you heard in our conversation, for me, I'm going to say that I believe that it was more extraterrestrial in nature than anything. And also that you heard, I couldn't imagine, we just kind of postulated, what if we'd have been out there just walking or jogging or riding a bike? Would this entity have hurt you, or what was it? And it was running faster than any man could, but its shape, its speed, its just how it was glowing like lightning was just so strange. It just is one of those interviews that you really have to appreciate that there's so much more out there than what we could ever imagine. The world is so much stranger than what you and I think. And there's a lot more out there than these creatures besides just Sasquatch and Dogman, trust me. And that's because there's people that have suppressed this, that have lied to us on what is really existence in our world around us. Our world is so much more mysterious, so much more bizarre, and we don't have all the answers. And a lot of the people that keep this from us, that suppress this, they don't have answers either. But they keep it from us as the American public. They're afraid we're going to panic. A portion of us might, but a great portion I feel that we won't. But we do want to know. And there's just so much out there that we just don't understand. And you know what? That's okay. So after interviewing this guest, I more or less walked away just in my mind thinking this was more of an extraterrestrial in nature, this entity. We don't know its purpose. We don't know if there was others around. We don't know if it went to a ship or it had been dropped off. There was a lot of unknowns. And I think when it comes to many of these entities that people describe seeing or coming in contact with, it's hard for us as human beings to wrap our mind around things we don't understand. We want to put everything in a box and label it and put it on a shelf. And that's just how our minds work, of course. And that's just kind of how we understand the world around us. But it's not always that way. The real world, the reality in our world is not that way. It doesn't follow necessarily those rules. And that's what makes it very difficult for us as human beings, is that it bothers us at a psychological level to not understand something. The why, the who, all of these questions, when they go unanswered, it just creates this never-ending cycle in our brain. And we want to know those things. And that's what we try to do, is we try to learn together and analyze these encounters. We want to hear from real people, everyday people like you and I, that didn't expect to see anything. And they did. They witnessed something they can't explain. It frightened them. It puzzled them. It bewildered them. They are left with a lot of questions. And so that's what we do. We learn together. From my end, I try to see patterns and try to fill in the dots and then help those people that witness this, help them realize that they're not alone, that thousands, literally thousands of people have seen strange and odd things, sometimes frightening things that we just can't explain. We don't know where they're from, how long they've been around, have they been dropped off, who knows about them, what do we know about them. So give me your thoughts on this interview. I'd like to hear what you guys think. If many of you out there have seen something very odd and strange, you have been reluctant on sharing. You didn't want to be ridiculed or embarrassed or made fun of. Trust me, I understand. I've been there myself. I've had odd and strange experiences myself. I'd really like to hear from you. I don't judge on my podcast. I just want to help in any way that I can. And in some cases, I actually may have some answers for you just because of my own experiences, but I've been privileged enough to interview hundreds and hundreds of people. So if you've had an experience like this that you would like to share, get off your chest, you can call the toll-free number or contact me by my email. In the meantime, guys, let me know what you thought of this interview. Always remember, we're never alone when in the wilderness, but we're also never alone in the skies. Take care.